The year 1947 marked a monumental shift in the Indian subcontinent. British colonial rule ended, birthing two independent nations, India and Pakistan. This partition was drawn largely along religious lines, with Muslim-majority areas intended to form Pakistan and Hindu-majority regions to become India. But, the process was far from simple, leading to widespread violence and one of the largest mass migrations in human history. Amidst this tumultuous backdrop, the fate of over 500 princely states, which had enjoyed a degree of autonomy under British suzerainty, hung precariously in the balance. These states were given a choice: accede to India, accede to Pakistan, or at least in theory, remain independent, though the last option was strongly discouraged by the departing British. The princely state of Jammu and Kashmir presented a particularly complex challenge. It was a Muslim-majority region ruled by a Hindu monarch, Maharaja Hari Singh. He initially hesitated, perhaps dreaming of an independent Kashmir, a Switzerland of the East. This indecision proved fateful. As the deadline for accession passed, the region became vulnerable. Pakistan, keen to absorb the Muslim-majority territory, believed Kashmir naturally belonged to it, aligning with the core logic of the two-nation theory that underpinned its creation. India, on the other hand, emphasized its secular credentials, arguing that a Muslim-majority state could and should be part of its diverse fabric. The Maharaja's delay created a power vacuum that others were quick to exploit. This tense standoff soon escalated into conflict. In October 1947, armed Pashtun tribesmen from Pakistan's northwest frontier province, allegedly supported by elements within the Pakistani state, invaded Kashmir. Their advance towards Srinagar, the capital, created a dire situation for Maharaja Hari Singh. Facing the collapse of his rule and the potential fall of his capital, he made a desperate appeal to India for military assistance. India agreed to help, but on one crucial condition: Kashmir must formally accede to India. The Maharaja signed the Instrument of Accession on October 26, 1947, making Jammu and Kashmir legally a part of India. Indian troops were airlifted into Srinagar just in time to halt the tribal advance, leading to the First Indo-Pakistani War over Kashmir. The conflict raged for over a year, eventually leading to a United Nations brokered ceasefire in January 1949. This ceasefire line, later known as the Line of Control, divided Kashmir. India gained control of approximately 2/3 of the territory, including Jammu, the Kashmir Valley, and Ladakh. Pakistan administered the remaining third, which it called Azad Kashmir, and also gained control of Gilgit-Baltistan. The UN resolutions called for a plebiscite, a vote by the Kashmiri people to decide their future, but conditions for this plebiscite were never met by both sides, leaving the issue unresolved and, honestly, sowing the seeds for decades of animosity. India's claim to Kashmir is primarily based on the Instrument of Accession signed by Maharaja Hari Singh in 1947. Legally, New Delhi argues, this makes Kashmir an integral and inalienable part of the Indian Union. Beyond the legal document, India views Kashmir as a testament to its secular identity. The idea that a Muslim-majority state chose to join a Hindu-majority but secular India is central to this narrative. For many Indians, letting go of Kashmir would undermine the very foundation of India as a pluralistic nation where all religions can coexist. Furthermore, the presence of a significant Hindu and Buddhist population in parts of Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in Jammu and Ladakh respectively, adds another layer to India's assertion that the region's destiny is intertwined with its own. Pakistan, conversely, bases its claim on the region's Muslim majority and the foundational principles of the 1947 partition. The two-nation theory, which posited that Hindus and Muslims were distinct nations requiring separate homelands, is central to Pakistan's identity. From Islamabad's perspective, Kashmir, with its overwhelming Muslim population, should naturally have become part of Pakistan. The accession to India is often portrayed as coerced and illegitimate, a historical wrong that needs correction. Pakistan also frequently highlights the Kashmiri people's right to self-determination, referencing the unimplemented UN resolutions that called for a plebiscite. This narrative resonates deeply within Pakistan, where Kashmir is often referred to as the jugular vein and an unfinished agenda of the partition. The strategic importance of Kashmir cannot be overstated for both nations, adding a hard geopolitical edge to the emotional and ideological claims. For India, Kashmir provides a critical land border with Afghanistan via the Wakhan corridor, though now largely under Pakistani control in Gilgit-Baltistan, and significantly, China. Control over regions like Ladakh, part of the larger Kashmir territory, is vital for India's security calculus concerning its often tense border with China. Furthermore, several major rivers that are crucial for irrigation and hydropower in northern India, such as the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, originate in or flow through Kashmir. Ensuring access to these water resources is a paramount concern for New Delhi, underpinning its strategic stake in the region. For Pakistan, too, Kashmir holds immense strategic value. The upper catchments of the Indus River system, vital for Pakistan's agriculture and economy, lie in Indian-administered Kashmir. Control or influence over these water sources is a significant national security interest for Islamabad. Moreover, Kashmir's geographic location provides strategic depth and a contiguous link to its key ally, China. Ideologically, the Kashmir cause has been a rallying point for successive Pakistani governments and a symbol of solidarity with Muslims perceived to be oppressed. This deep-seated connection makes any compromise on Kashmir politically fraught for any Pakistani leader, ensuring its continued prominence in national discourse and foreign policy. The initial conflict of 1947-48 was just the beginning of a long and, honestly, bloody saga. India and Pakistan have fought 3 more major wars in which Kashmir was a central, if not the primary, casus belli. The 1965 war saw a large-scale attempt by Pakistan to infiltrate forces into Indian-administered Kashmir to foment an uprising, which failed to materialize and led to a full-blown conflict. While the 1971 war was primarily about the independence of Bangladesh, formerly East Pakistan, significant military engagements also occurred along the Kashmir front. Then, in 1999, the Kargil conflict erupted when Pakistani soldiers and militants infiltrated strategic heights on the Indian side of the line of control, leading to intense mountain warfare before Indian forces reclaimed the positions. Each war deepened the mistrust and hardened positions on both sides. Beyond conventional warfare, Kashmir has been plagued by a protracted armed insurgency that began in earnest in 1989. This period saw a surge in militancy, with numerous groups seeking either independence for Kashmir or its merger with Pakistan. India has consistently accused Pakistan of fueling this insurgency by providing training, arms, and sanctuary to militant groups, an allegation Pakistan denies, stating it only provides moral and diplomatic support to the Kashmiri cause. The insurgency led to widespread violence, loss of life, and significant human rights concerns raised by various international organizations against both militant groups and Indian security forces. This era transformed the nature of the conflict, adding a complex internal dimension to the external dispute. For decades, the Indian-administered part of Jammu and Kashmir held a unique position within the Indian Union, governed by Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. This article granted the state significant autonomy, including its own constitution, a separate flag, and independence over most matters except defense, foreign affairs, and communications. It was a provision born out of the specific circumstances of its accession, intended to safeguard the distinct identity of the region. However, this special status was always a contentious issue within India. Many nationalist groups viewed it as an impediment to Kashmir's full integration with India and a symbol of separatism. Supporters argued it was a constitutional guarantee vital for maintaining the trust of the Kashmiri people. This long-standing arrangement underwent a dramatic change on August 5, 2019. The Indian government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, unilaterally revoked Article 370, thereby stripping Jammu and Kashmir of its special autonomous status. The state was also bifurcated into 2 federally administered union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. This move was accompanied by a massive security clampdown, including the detention of political leaders, a communications blackout, and increased troop deployment. The government argued this would foster better development, integration, and curb terrorism. Critics, however, condemned it as an undemocratic act that disenfranchised the local population and further alienated Kashmiris, significantly altering the dynamics of the dispute. The situation in Kashmir remains volatile. Recent years, especially around 2024, have seen a concerning resurgence in militant activities, particularly in the Jammu region, which had previously been relatively calmer compared to the Kashmir Valley. Incidents targeting civilians and security personnel have raised alarms about a potential shift in militant tactics or increased infiltration across the line of control. Indian authorities often point to Pakistan for supporting these renewed efforts, citing evidence like recovered weaponry. These developments underscore the persistent security challenges and the fragility of peace in the region, despite official claims that the 2019 changes have improved the overall security environment. The data on militancy offers a mixed picture, with some sources indicating a decline post-2019, but with notable upticks in specific periods or areas. Amidst these security concerns, the political landscape also presents a complex picture. The 2024 Indian general elections witnessed a notably high voter turnout in Jammu and Kashmir, the highest in several decades. Some observers interpret this as a sign of growing faith in democratic processes and a desire for normalcy among the population. However, others caution against reading too much into these numbers, arguing that high turnout does not necessarily equate to an endorsement of the central government's policies or a resolution of underlying political grievances. The absence of many prominent regional leaders from the mainstream political discourse post-2019 due to detentions or other restrictions also complicates the interpretation of these electoral outcomes. The question of external involvement or third-party mediation in the Kashmir dispute continues to surface periodically, adding another layer of complexity. India has historically maintained a firm stance against any third-party intervention, insisting that Kashmir is a bilateral issue to be resolved with Pakistan based on the 1972 Simla Agreement. This agreement, signed after the 1971 war, explicitly states that differences should be settled through direct negotiations. However, occasional comments from international figures, like former US President Donald Trump's claims of having offered to mediate, often trigger political debates within India. Recently, the Indian Congress Party called for clarity from the government regarding its stance on such offers, emphasizing adherence to bilateralism. Ultimately, finding a lasting solution to the Kashmir issue remains incredibly difficult. The historical grievances are deep-seated, and national narratives in both India and Pakistan are heavily invested in their respective claims. Decades of conflict have created layers of mistrust that are hard to peel away. Domestic political considerations in both countries often make compromise politically unpalatable for leaders. Furthermore, the involvement of other regional powers, notably China with its own territorial claims in Ladakh and its strong strategic alliance with Pakistan, adds another dimension to the geopolitical chessboard. Until there is a genuine political will from all sides to engage in sustained, meaningful dialogue that addresses the aspirations of the Kashmiri people, this never-ending story will likely continue, holding regional peace hostage.